This video is on the order of operations. We're going to be using PEMDAS versus SADMEP. So PEMDAS is used when we have simplifying expressions. It's P-E-M-D-A-S. The P stands for the parentheses. Now, it does not just have to look like parentheses, it could be any grouping symbol. So I'm going to make a note of that. This is any grouping symbols, which means it could be absolute value bars, it could be a square root symbol, it could be parentheses, it could be brackets, it could be anything that groups something together. It could even be the numerator of a fraction. The E in PEMDAS is exponents. The exponents, another word for that would be the power. So the powers of the problem. Your powers can be something squared, cubed, fourth. It could even be raised to the x. It could be raised to the 1/2 power. It's anything that something is raised to. Then you have the M and D, which are together because it's whichever one comes first. So the M and D, it's whichever one comes first as you're reading the problem from left to right. The M is multiplication, which when you're looking at a problem could look like an X, multiplication symbol, or a dot. Sometimes you'll even see it with parentheses and a number directly or a letter directly attached to the parentheses, which is a multiplication. The D is division, which the universal symbol is the 2 dots with a bar in the middle. You will also have our slash, the division symbol. So we'll have multiplication or division, whichever one comes first in the problem. Then you have your AS. So the A stands for addition, and the S stands for subtraction. Just like with multiplication and division, because they're together, it's whichever one comes first in the problem after we've done everything else. The universal symbol for addition is the plus sign, and the symbol for subtraction is the minus sign. An acronym is PEMDAS, or the mnemonic device would be, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Some people have used that. PEMDAS is the acronym. And then you also have the phrase PEMDAS to remind us that we use this in this order when we're simplifying expressions. So what an expression is, an expression represents the value of something using numbers, variables, and operations. So when it's asking you to simplify an expression, so to simplify an expression means to rewrite. So we're going to rewrite something. We're going to rewrite an expression in a simpler way. So an example of this says to simplify 7 minus 2 parentheses 4 plus 3 times 2 close parentheses squared. We have a lot of information in here, but there is a much cleaner way that we can write this. We want to simplify this all the way down so we only have to see one number. When it says to rewrite an expression, we want to get it down to as smallest as possible. An expression includes numbers, variables, and operations. We have numbers and operations in here, but we do not have variables. Variables are letters. If you have a variable, only variables can go together if they have the same letter. These are all numbers. So we will be able to combine everything into one smaller number, or into one number, so this doesn't look like this. So we're going to look on this problem, on simplifying expressions on this little diagram. We want to look for parentheses or any grouping symbols. So in this problem, we do have parentheses, and we have a bunch of stuff inside of the parentheses. That's what we need to focus on first. So everything outside of the parentheses is going to be rewritten the exact same way. So I'm going to rewrite this as 7 minus 2 parentheses, and I know I'm going to have something inside the parentheses. I just don't know what yet. I'm still going to put the squared symbol on it. Now inside the parentheses, we look for, do we have any exponents inside the parentheses? So we have a 4, 3, and a 2. There's no exponent inside the parentheses. So then we come down to multiplication division. We look for multiplication and division. So as we go, we have 4 plus 3 times 2. We do have a times, which is your multiplication. We need to focus on that timesing part first. And it's the 3 times the 2. So this 4 is actually just going to drop down because we can't touch that yet. We're going to go ahead and put the plus symbol as well, because then any signs that we need to change can change later on. So focusing on this 3 times 2, 3 times 2 is 6. So 3 times 2 is 6. So we now have a smaller amount of numbers in here. Instead of us saying 3 times 2, 4 plus 3 times 2, now we have 4 plus 6. So we're still inside the parentheses because we have things inside of the parentheses. Then we look for inside the parentheses, do we have any division? We do not. Do we have any addition or subtraction? Inside of here we have 4 plus 6. So we know that we have to finish out the parenthesis part. That means I'm going to keep this 7 minus 2 parentheses because I know I have to simplify the inside of the parentheses further. And then I'm going to put the squared on the outside of that parentheses again. So we figure out what is 4 plus 6. 4 plus 6 is 10, and that's what goes inside of our parentheses. Now, we have actually finished the inside of the parentheses, so we can move on to exponents. We have an exponent on this parenthesis set of 10. So what that means is 10 squared. Squared means 10 times 10. Exponents is how many times you multiply something by itself. So this is going to be 10 times 10. The parentheses we have to focus on. So we're going to keep that 7 minus 2. And because it's going to turn into something else, I actually want to keep a set of parentheses on here. But the exponent is going to change. We're going to have this entire 10 squared become something. 10 squared, 10 times 10. So we have to say 10 2 times. So 10 times 10 is 100. That's what goes down into here. Now again, parentheses. Yes, we do still have parentheses, but on the inside of the parentheses, nothing else can happen because this is as simplified inside the parentheses as possible. Then we look at exponents. We have no more exponents on the problem. Now we go to multiplication division. Now on this problem, I see no x multiplication symbol and no dot. But I do see a number attached to a parenthesis. There's nothing in between this section here, this 2 and the parenthesis. What that means is that this is a -2 times that parenthesis set. So what that means is that we can multiply this. The multiplication division part will multiply the 2 times 100. So I'm going to keep the 7 because we haven't touched that yet, minus. And I focus on that 2 times 100. So I kept the sign where it was. Now if there was multiple things, if there was a variable as well, I would want to make sure I take that entire -2. So a -2 times a 100 is a negative, so I have my negative symbol, 200. And now we actually have completely gotten rid of the parentheses. So that is very helpful, as all we have left to do is add and subtract. We've done all of our multiplication, we've done all of our exponents, we've done all of our parentheses. Now we're going to add and subtract anything that's left. There is no addition symbol, but there is a subtraction. This is why we have to make sure that we keep things in the same order, because it's going to be 7 minus 200. So 7 minus 200 is going to be our final answer. And if we figure out 7 minus 200, 7 is positive, 200 is negative. I only have 7 things. I'm giving away 200. I'm going to be in the negative. I'm going to have a negative 193. So our solution, if I wanted to simplify 7 minus 2, parentheses 4 plus 3, times 2, close parentheses, raised to the second power, this actually gives us negative 193. And that is the solution, or that is our simplified version. Now, in the calculator, if you are able to use a calculator, your calculator does order of operations for you. This is why parentheses are very important in making sure you use everything that's in the problem. So if I type in the original problem, so I type in 7 minus 2, parentheses, 4 plus 3 times 2, close parentheses, and then I'm going to raise it to the second power. I'm going to square it. I'm going to press enter. I get negative 193, so I do know that this is correct. Your calculator does order of operations for you, so you need to make sure that you type it in exactly as it says, and you understand what parentheses do.